Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Wife Moon Goddess, I teach her to develop civilization. Chapter 66. Soon, the Moon Goddess contacted the Goddess of Wisdom through the Godhead. Okay, but I didn't tell her anything too specific. Please tell her in detail. Moon Goddess said. Good wife. After Chi Phoebe hugged his wife, he activated his time and space talent. This is not the first time he has come to the kingdom of the Goddess of Wisdom. Your Excellency Phoebe. As soon as Chi Phoebe arrived, the happy voices of the Holy Spirits rang out. The Holy Spirits of the Goddess of Wisdom also welcomed Chi Phoebe very much. Bye, Adele said you wanted to see me if you had something to do. The Goddess of Wisdom came, looking at Phoebe curiously with a pair of beautiful talking eyes. There was a lot of interest inside. Really? The Moon Goddess said nothing. Apparently, the Moon Goddess wanted Chi Phoebe to tell her how to arrange the specific arrangements, and she also left it to Chi Phoebe. But Chi Phoebe was particularly relieved. Goddess, let's talk here. Chi Phoebe said. Okay. Goddess, try this. On the floating island in the center of the Goddess of Wisdom, Chi Phoebe took out a moon ring. It was specially made and did not require prayer. After all, it's not a good idea for the Goddess of Wisdom to pray to the Goddess of the Moon. What is this? It's very beautiful. Is it a gift? The Goddess of Wisdom took it, looked at it, and said with a smile. The moon ring is extremely beautiful, it really feels like a gift. But soon, the Goddess of Wisdom discovered the magic inside. There is a magic in it, this magic. 280, it is Adele's handwriting. As soon as the Goddess of Wisdom moved her finger, mysterious power enveloped the moon ring, and she realized that the magic should come from the Goddess of the Moon. Although many of the magical arts of the Moon Circle are fixed by the Holy Spirits, the magical arts themselves come from the Moon Goddess. The Goddess of Wisdom knows the Moon Goddess quite well, and can still recognize the Moon Goddess's magic. Can the Goddess analyze this magical technique? Chi Phoebe was not in a hurry to reveal the answer to the mystery, and was going to try it with the Goddess of Wisdom to see how likely other gods would be to crack it if they got the moon ring. The current magic internet is mainly realized through clergy and divine magic. Here, the role of divine magic is also crucial. Only with divine magic can there be a moon ring. If other gods can analyze this magic, there is a high possibility that others can imitate the earrings. Analysis. Let me try. The Goddess of Wisdom tried. With a movement of her slender fingers, she summoned her own golden book. Then, her fingers seemed to be dancing, extremely nimble, drawing out traces of golden light from the golden book. These golden lights look particularly gorgeous, guided by the Goddess of Wisdom, surrounding the earrings. It seems that the moon ring is covered with golden streams of light, which is particularly beautiful. Chi Phoebe said nothing and waited patiently. In this way, after waiting for almost half an hour, as soon as the moon ring darkened, the magic on it disappeared. Broken. The Goddess of Wisdom closed the book. It can't be analyzed. If I forcefully analyze it, this magic will destroy itself. The Goddess of Wisdom said. Even she can't analyze it, and it's even more impossible for other fourth-level gods. Even if the Lord God wants to analyze it, he can't. It will self-destruct as soon as it is analyzed. How to analyze it? This is because the Moon Goddess added a self-destruction magic to the core of that magic. Once others try to forcefully analyze it, the magic will instantly dissolve itself. Don't give others a chance to analyze it at all. Now, Chi Phoebe was relieved. Bye, what is this? The Goddess of Wisdom was curious. Chi Phoebe took out another moon ring and handed it to the Goddess of Wisdom. The Goddess injects spiritual power into it and tries it. Chi Phoebe said. The Goddess of Wisdom became interested and injected spiritual power into it. Her mental strength is terrifying. It only took a trace to successfully open the moon ring. Then, the moon forum jumped out. Seeing the moon forum, the Goddess of Wisdom let out a light sigh and glanced across the moon forum. The goddess can be controlled with mental power or with hands. Chi Phoebe said. The Goddess of Wisdom quickly found the method of operation. The first thing she opened was the communication section, which had a large number of posts. Although Moon Chat has been launched, the Moon Forum is still very lively. A large number of magicians were chatting on the main section and subsections. The posts above are also constantly being refreshed. The most recently replied posts will appear at the top. After watching like this for a while, the goddess of wisdom looked at Chi Fibai. These. Are they from the magician below? Asked the goddess of wisdom. Chi Fibai nodded. That's right. The goddess of wisdom turned her head and continued to study. The expression on her face also began to become more focused, which meant that she had been attracted to the Moon Forum. I saw her quickly scanning through the posts. After looking at it for a long time, the goddess of wisdom finally opened the Moon Magic Encyclopedia. At this glance, she discovered that most of the content in the Moon Magic Encyclopedia came from her magic treasure house. The goddess of wisdom finally understood why the moon goddess asked her to borrow the magic treasure house. Finally, she became familiar with the entire Moon Forum. What other functions does it have? Asked the goddess of wisdom. Chat. Chi Fibai opened UChat and sent a period to Ticini. Your Excellency Fibai, do you need me to convey anything to the goddess? Ticini replied cutely. Can this function also be used in the continent of the gods? Asked the goddess of wisdom. Chi Fibai said, yes. Surprise appeared in the eyes of the goddess of wisdom. She looked at Chi Fibai. Is this done by Adele? Chi Fibai said, not bad. As soon as he answered, a suspicious look appeared in the eyes of the goddess of wisdom. I know Adele. Although Adele is very smart, she is 100% unable to figure out this moon network. Is this your handiwork? The goddess of wisdom has a, you can't fool me, look. Chi Fibai could only say, this is indeed my idea, but just having an idea can't be realized. The goddess of wisdom smiled. This idea is worth a lot of money. Without this idea, the moon network may not appear in the world for thousands of years. If my guess is correct, the magician uses the moon net, do you have to pray? After speaking, the goddess of wisdom asked. As expected, she is the goddess of wisdom. She quickly saw how Yuang gained faith. Chi Fibai said, yes, tens of thousands of magicians have joined the moon network now, and this number is still increasing. It won't take long before it should be able to cover the magicians of the entire Yongye Empire. Tens of thousands. The goddess of wisdom's eyes lit up. Then what are you looking for me to do now? She asked. Chi Fibai said, I have discussed with the old goddess and want to invite you, goddess, to join the moon network. We can set up a special section for you in the moon network. The goddess will be responsible for the content of that section. I wonder if the goddess is willing. He almost let it slip. His relationship with the moon goddess is not a big secret, but when the goddess of wisdom doesn't know about it, chatting with her Chi Feiyu naturally can't call Yongliang goddess his wife. Otherwise, it would take a long time just to explain, which would be very troublesome. Although the goddess of wisdom noticed Chi Fibai's word, Lao, she didn't pay attention to it and thought it was a slip of the tongue. After all, she would never have thought that Chi Fibai and the moon goddess actually had that kind of relationship. Seeing Chi Fibai inviting her to join the moon network, a smile broke out on the goddess of wisdom's face. Of course I am willing. Thank Adele for me. Then, she looked at Chi Fibai seriously and said, thank you too, The goddess of wisdom agreed readily. Also very happy. With her wisdom, she naturally saw the value of Yuang. Adele and Chi Fibai were willing to invite her to join so that she could also gain faith through the moon network. Although, needless to say, the goddess of wisdom also knows that if she gains faith in the moon network, she must give part of it to the moon goddess, but she is also happy. After all, the platform belongs to the moon goddess. What do you think I should do? I have given the magic treasure house to Adele, and I still have some knowledge treasure houses in my hand. Do you want to put them in? The goddess of wisdom asked enthusiastically. Chi Fibai pondered for a moment and said, well, goddess, let's create a separate section for the goddess, let's call it Wisdom Classroom. From now on, the Wisdom Classroom will be hosted by the goddess. Smart Classroom. This name intrigued the goddess of wisdom. That's right, it's the Wisdom Classroom. The goddess makes some detailed explanations of magic, or tips, etc., and presents them in the form of videos in the Wisdom Classroom. Trust me. Goddess, will definitely be very popular. Quote. Chi Fibai said. What is the video? The goddess of wisdom is like a curious baby. Chi Fibai took out his mobile phone and played the video. It was the first time for the goddess of wisdom to see a mobile phone, and she looked at it with interest. Bai, where are you from? After reading it, the goddess of wisdom looked at Chi Fibai and replied. As smart as she is, she has already noticed that Chi Fibai is special. When Chi Fibai was about to speak, the goddess of wisdom stretched out her hand and blocked Chi Fibai's mouth. Okay, that's all I ask, I won't explore your secrets. After finishing speaking, the goddess of wisdom realized something was wrong, and her hand touched Chi Fibai's lips. She silently removed her hand. Goddess, can you do it back? Chi Fibai asked. It's no problem to do it through magic. The goddess of wisdom said. Okay, then we will make another wisdom encyclopedia, mainly sharing some other aspects of knowledge. Chi Fibai talked about further plans. Smart Classroom, Wisdom Encyclopedia. This is the section currently planned by Chi Fibai for the Goddess of Wisdom. The functions of Magic Internet are constantly being improved, and there will be a large number of sections in the future. Wisdom Classroom allows the Goddess of Wisdom to carefully create some video tutorials. Needless to say, the effect of the video tutorial will be very good. As long as she does it through magic and adds it to the server, which is the godhead of the moon goddess, all magicians will be able to access and see it. It is also more suitable for the goddess of wisdom. The goddess of wisdom listened very carefully, just like a student who pays attention to the lecture. The goddess of wisdom listened to Chi Fibai's idea with great interest. Her interest was also completely aroused. Needless to say, she could also guess that these ideas must have been conceived by Chi Fibai. This made Chi Fibai fall into the eyes of the goddess of wisdom, becoming more and more mysterious. 3.5. In addition, there is another thing, that is, after the magician group is fully popularized, I plan to popularize the Moon Network among ordinary people. This requires reducing costs and changing the login method. In this regard, I would also like to trouble the goddess to think of a solution. Quote. After explaining the wisdom class to the goddess of wisdom in detail, Chi Fibai talked about one more thing. The second purpose of pulling the goddess of wisdom into the car is to solve this problem with the help of the goddess of wisdom. The moon goddess is too busy. She needs to make moon rings and improve the entire magic internet platform. The difficulty of popularizing Yuang among ordinary people lies in 2 points, cost and login method. Magic, especially permanent magic, must be fixed and effective, and gold is a must. In fact, gold is not the best, there are better ones, but those things are rarer and more expensive. Using gold will make the moon ring unaffordable for ordinary people. 1 month's income is more than the income of most ordinary people's families for more than a year. Free gift. That's not realistic, and I can't afford to give it away. If gold is not used, there is no way to fix permanent magic, which is a contradiction. Another problem is that ordinary people have no mental power or magic power. At present, this problem is not a big problem, because it will take time to popularize all the magicians in the God's continent. But it's time to start researching. Okay, I'll figure it out. The goddess of wisdom responded immediately. This matter is settled like this. In the next 2 days, Chi Fibai has been in the kingdom of the goddess of wisdom, making magic video courses with the goddess of wisdom. After 2 days of busy work, I have already achieved a good harvest. Goddess, you can just continue making it. After the goddess of wisdom had mastered all the key points of making video courses, Chi Fibai left her kingdom of God. Bye, how's it going? After returning to the kingdom of God, the moon goddess asked. It's been discussed, I'll let her be in charge of the smart classroom. Chi Fibai said. The moon goddess had no objection to Chi Fibai's arrangement. The wisdom classroom was conceived from the beginning, and the moon goddess has already built it through her godhead. However, because she has been too busy recently, she has not been filling in the content. She now needs to make a moon ring, she also needs to continuously expand the functions of the magic internet, and she also needs to turn her endless faith into divine power. You have to use these magical powers to heal your wounds, and your time every day is also fully arranged. The Holy Spirits are also very busy, and the work of fixing magic is basically done by the Holy Spirits. Otherwise, the moon goddess only does this thing, and there is no other time every day. This is why the moon goddess has long wanted to pull the goddess of wisdom into the car. The internet on Earth is built and improved by countless individuals, bit by bit, year by year. She is the only one on the magic internet for the time being. Even if she is a god, one can imagine her workload. Black small square. Chi Phoebe's moon ring shook. Chi Phoebe took it out and saw that it was from the magician who was stationed in the Yongye Empire. Chi Phoebe recruited a lot of people, including some magicians. What's wrong, Shiro? Asked the moon goddess. The emperor of the Evernight Empire wants to see me. Chi Phoebe said. It seems that the Evernight Empire has noticed the moon ring. Maybe he had noticed it a long time ago, but the Eternal Night Empire did not interfere in any way. After all, this matter involves a magician and a great goddess. Emperor Yongyi wanted to see Chi Phoebe this time. In Chi Phoebe's opinion, it must be that Emperor Yongyi couldn't sit still after the chat function was launched. The moon goddess 11 heard Chi Phoebe's words, pondered for a moment, and cast a magical spell on Chi Phoebe. Emperor Yongye should not interfere with the moon network. One of the 3 existing Dharma gods in the gods continent is in the Yongye Empire. I had a favor for her back then. If Emperor Yongye makes things difficult for you, you can inspire this god. Technique. Moon goddess said. Act of god. Chi Phoebe asked. Well, when you become a demigod, you force yourself not to enter the divine world and become a god in the human world. The success rate is extremely low and it is very risky. Generally, no magician would choose to do this. However, the benefits after success are huge. Moon goddess explained. Become a god in the world. That should be equivalent to a land god, or something like that. The moon goddess added. Her name is Vivian. The strength of the Dharma god is equivalent to that of the first level new gods. But in the future, she will ascend to the god realm and can directly reach the 3rd level. The Dharma god cannot act casually in the continent of gods, as she is prone to backlash, but it also has a certain deterrent effect. Chi Phoebe understood. Look at it this way, although there are risks in becoming a Dharma god, the benefits are also huge. After all, the gap between the 1st level and the 3rd level is too big, and the time required is too long. Some gods may not even reach the 3rd level in their lifetime. But by becoming a Dharma god, you can take shortcuts. However, not everyone can take this shortcut. Compared with entering the god realm and slowly accumulating strength, the risk is probably n times greater. Your Excellency Fei Bai, this is how the goddess became a god before. It only took her 100 years. Tissini added. My wife used to be a Dharma god. 100 years to become a god is really fast. No wonder she is so powerful now. My wife is so amazing. Chi Fei praised her in vain. After saying goodbye to the moon goddess, Chi Phoebe activated his time and space talent. Soon, he appeared in the Yongye imperial capital. After handing the moon ring to his men, Chi Phoebe walked out. Outside, people from the palace are waiting there. Moon god envoy, Ji. After learning Chi Phoebe's identity, people from the palace sent an invitation. The carriage moved forward slowly. The Yongye imperial capital is indeed prosperous and has a large population. People come and go. However, in Chi Phoebe's opinion, the city's construction and interface have been surpassed by the royal capital of the Plantagenet kingdom. Soon, the magnificent palace arrived, and the carriage entered all the way. After entering the palace and driving for quite some time, we arrived at the place. Moon god, please. An official was already waiting there with his attendants. Chi Phoebe got off the carriage, and under the leadership of this official, he went all the way to a palace. Soon, the palace arrived. The palace was not big. After Chi Phoebe entered it, he found that there were only Emperor Yongye and a few attendants inside. Emperor Yongye is a middle-aged man in his 50s, who looks quite dignified. I have met His Majesty. Chi Phoebe held the salute with both hands and said. Naturally, there is no need for excessive etiquette when a divine envoy meets the emperor. Emperor Yongye stretched out his hand and waved away the servants, leaving only the official who brought Chi Phoebe in. Moon god, I heard that the moon rings that have become popular in the imperial capital recently were made by the moon goddess. Emperor Yongye spoke. Yes, Your Majesty, that is the creation of my god. Chi Phoebe said. I wonder if the divine envoy can tell the moon goddess to customize a batch of moon rings for the Eternal Night Empire. Emperor Yongye said again. Customized moon ring. Sure enough, this is the purpose of Emperor Yongye. Chi Phoebe asked. How would your majesty customize it? Emperor Yongye looked at the official. The official said. Moon god envoy, it's like this. The situation in the Eternal Night Empire is relatively complicated. There is a god of law sitting in charge, and many gods in the divine world are competing for faith in the Eternal Night Empire. The royal family can only be impartial and non-interfering. Therefore, His Majesty hopes that the customized moon ring can remove prayers. In this way, the magicians stationed in various places of the royal family can easily use the rings to convey orders. Quote. Remove the prayer. Chi Phoebe shook his head. Your Majesty, I'm afraid it's difficult to do this. He refused outright. Moon rings are now in short supply. The royal family needs a lot of them, so why not make a batch of unprofitable moon rings specifically for the Eternal Night Empire? How can it be? Seeing Chi Phoebe rejecting the offer so quickly, Emperor Yongyi's expression showed no change, but the official became a little anxious. Moon god, we are willing to pay 10 times the gold. The official said. Chi Phoebe looked at Emperor Yongye and said, Your Majesty, do you know what the moon net represents? Emperor Yongye said. I would like to hear the details. Chi Phoebe said lightly. Your Majesty now only knows that the moon net is a creation of the moon goddess, but what the moon net really represents is a virtual world where all magicians can communicate and obtain information. In the future, the moon net will have more and more functions, and at the same time, more gods will appear in the moon net to bring blessings to all living beings. Quote. Speaking of this, Chi Phoebe's voice changed. Your Majesty probably doesn't know yet that the goddess of wisdom is about to move into Yuan Cafe. Chi Phoebe said. Goddess of wisdom. Emperor Yongye really didn't know yet, but after hearing what Chi Phoebe said, Yuang's status in his heart was obviously different. The previous moon net only belonged to the moon goddess, a great goddess in the divine world. Now, that's two. Moreover, according to Chi Phoebe, there will be more gods in the moon network in the future. Now, in the heart of Emperor Yongye, Yuang's bargaining chip suddenly became n times heavier. A great goddess at the 4th level, he can still negotiate terms. For an empire as big as the Eternal Night Empire, there are too many gods fighting for faith here, and there are also many gods. Everyone is gathering faith through the priesthood. If no god dares to shine his divine light here, it will cause public outrage. In fact, even if it is illuminated with divine light, the great god's divine light can only cover a small part of the Eternal Night Empire. That's not a good idea. For the great gods at the 4th level, a kingdom that belongs entirely to their own, preferably a complete and stable kingdom. That's the best option. The attitude of the Yongye royal family has always been impartial. Anyway, in order to compete for faith, God will only do things that are beneficial to the Yongye Empire. It is this impartial attitude that maintains the prosperity of the Evernight Empire. That's why Emperor Yongye mentioned this. If your Majesty feels embarrassed, I can report it to the goddess. The moon ring customized for the royal family can reduce some of the prayer requirements. However, it will take 3 months to be delivered. By then, there should be more gods stationed in the moon network. Your Majesty, what do you think? Chi Phoebe naturally would not block the road, but said. Delivery after 3 months. John, just do as the moon goddess says. At this time, a crisp female voice sounded. Chi Phoebe took a look, and from behind the screen, a woman in her 20s, wearing an exquisite and luxurious magic robe, came out. I have met the Dharma god. As soon as the woman came out, the official saluted quickly. From this, Chi Phoebe knew that this woman should be the Dharma god of the Evernight Empire, Vivian. Okay, Great Aunt, Emperor Yongye said to the woman respectfully. Great Aunt and Grandma. Good guy. It's not an exaggeration to think that Vivian is the daughter of Emperor Yongye, but she is from the great-grandmother's generation. She should be the sister of Emperor Yongye's grandmother's mother, or something like an older sister. As a Dharma god, Emperor Yongye called her his great aunt. It's normal. A powerful magician has a relatively long lifespan. However, Vivian can still maintain such a youthful appearance, which shows that she is a magic genius and became a magician at a very young age. Because he can only become a magician, Tuan Xian loves his appearance and Shani. How is the goddess? After Vivian finished speaking to Emperor Yongye, she looked at Qi Fibai and asked. Qi Fibai said, everything is fine with the goddess. Vivian nodded slightly. That's good. The goddess's moon net is very great, and the empire will not interfere. As for the Magic Academy, I'm sorry they don't dare, so you can rest assured to promote it in the Eternal Night Empire. Her words were equivalent to a statement. The moon network itself is realized through the priesthood. It is a competition for faith within the default rules of the god realm. No one can say anything about the moon goddess. However, it will eventually affect the interests of some gods or some people. As the influence becomes greater and greater, more and more gods will notice it. Maybe some people will be jealous or have other thoughts. For Qi Fibai, at this stage, as long as there is no interference or resistance in the Yongye Empire, it will be fine. Okay, thank you, Your Excellency. Qi Fibai said. Vivian left. Your Majesty, I will deliver the first batch of moon rings in 3 months. Qi Fibai said to Emperor Yongye. Okay, so, thank you Moon God 580. Vivian spoke, and Emperor Yongye had no choice but to obey. After this meeting, Qi Fibai told the moon goddess about the situation through the moon ring. The production line you mentioned has been manufactured. The moon goddess also told Qi Fibai good news. She streamlined the manufacturing process of moon rings and created a production line that can quickly manufacture moon rings. After the moon ring is created, the holy spirits can then fix the magic. In this way, the moon goddess has more time, and can spend more time perfecting and building the moon network, and recuperating from injuries. This time, the output of the eye ring can be even greater. Qi Fibai began to go back and forth to the god realm every 2 or 3 days. In the Eternal Night Empire, the number of magicians who have obtained moon rings is increasing. Finally, almost a month later, the number of magicians with moon rings has successfully exceeded 10. That means it exceeded 100,000. With so many magicians, the Moon Forum became extremely lively. Needless to say, each of these magicians relies on outside the moon grid, not just for magical knowledge. The communication platform provided by Yuang is also very important. This allows magicians from all over the world to communicate easily. The emergence of Yuchao has given Yuang the social function. In fact, because some magicians are too chatty, Fibai also limits their current usage time through the backend. Magicians should spend more time meditating, learning magic knowledge, and praying more. Qi Fibai didn't want any magicians to say that Yuang lost his mind by playing with things. Under this circumstance, Yuang also became stronger and stronger. Are there already 100,000 magicians? The goddess of wisdom also got the news. She didn't expect that Yuang would develop so rapidly. So quickly, there are 100,000 magicians. The 100,000 magicians already account for less than half of the total number of magicians in the Evernight Empire. Like the Plantagenet Kingdom, there are only a few thousand magicians in total. The population of the Evernight Empire is more than 20 times that of the Plantagenet Kingdom. With the siphon effect, the number of magicians is dozens of times higher. And this day is also the day that the Wisdom Classroom, the section that the Goddess of Wisdom is responsible for, goes online. There are a lot of video tutorials in the Smart Classroom. These video tutorials were made by the Goddess of Wisdom and the Holy Spirits for more than half a month. Since the kingdom of the Moon Goddess has always been closed, it was Qi Fibai who brought these images back to the kingdom of the Moon Goddess. All the images were placed in a book by the Goddess of Wisdom. The Moon Goddess opened her divine head and attracted all these images. It's ready to start. Moon Goddess has officially launched the Wisdom Classroom section. As the Smart Classroom went online, magicians soon discovered it. Smart Classroom, what is this? A magician discovers the Wisdom Classroom. He clicked in curiously. I saw the video tutorial inside. Are there any images? The magician couldn't help but feel happy. Although there is systematic magic knowledge in the Moon Magic Encyclopedia, there is no video teaching. He did not expect that there would be video teaching in the Smart Classroom. He clicked on an image tutorial that interested him. This video tutorial is the Holy Spirit of the Goddess of Wisdom, Luda, demonstrating and teaching. It is about an earth magic, the roar of the earth dragon. This magician is an earth magician. The roar of the earth dragon is a powerful magic, but he has never been able to master the key to casting it. Loretta started from the beginning, explained it in great detail, and spelled out some key points. In the process of teaching, we also talked about the parts that are easy to make mistakes and lead to the failure of magic casting. Something. This magician is a little over the top. Unconsciously, he was immersed in it. From time to time, I paused, even took out a notebook and took notes. Listen, listen, the hour is up. You need to pray to the goddess of the moon and the goddess of wisdom to continue your studies. A prompt appears. Wisdom Classroom is a prayer to the moon goddess and the wisdom goddess at the same time. Since the entire platform of Yuang is built by the moon goddess, with the moon goddess priesthood, all the beliefs gained by the gods who reside in Yuang through the Yuang platform will be divided by the moon goddess. This was also Chi Fibai's previous plan for dividing the cake. You can think of Yuang as a certain treasure. The gods who are stationed in Yuang are merchants, and these merchants give certain treasures a share in proportion. No matter how merchants make money, a certain treasure is always the most profitable. Of course, this is just a metaphor. In fact, the moon goddess gained more. My wife definitely wants to eat a lot of it. The magician was so fascinated by the lesson that he naturally began to pray. It's not just him. In this hour, a large number of magicians have entered the wisdom classroom. When these magicians saw that it was video teaching, they all naturally became interested. They all looked at it. Goddess, this video has been played thousands of times. This has been played over 1,000 times. In the divine kingdom of the goddess of wisdom, through the moon ring provided by Chi Fibai, the holy spirits of the goddess of wisdom watched there with interest. Chi Fibai also asked Moon Goddess to design the playback volume of the teaching images in the smart classroom, so that you can intuitively see how many people watch a teaching image. Due to time constraints, the goddess of wisdom and the holy spirits have not produced many teaching videos. The magic treasure house she gave to the moon goddess before was perfected little by little over thousands of years. Although she has definitely not been doing this specifically in the past few thousand years, even for a god, the collection of information takes time. Teaching videos also require a lot of time from her and the Holy Spirits to produce. In the past 10 days, they have also completed a lot of teaching videos, but they are not particularly complete. It needs to be increased in the future. Ha ha ha, great, I didn't expect that I would learn such a complicated magic. In the Evernight Empire, a magician's laughter rang out. The reason is simple. Through the wisdom classroom, he successfully learned a complex magic. Although he has just learned it, it is still a very good achievement for him. The teaching in the smart classroom is very detailed, even more detailed than the teachers at the Magic Academy. This is simply better than what the teacher teaches. The magician was very happy. Teaching well is certain. After all, it comes from the goddess of wisdom. Not only should it be better, but the most important thing is to watch it a few times. If there is anything you don't understand or remember, just watch it a few times. In the Magic Academy, one teacher has to teach dozens of magicians. If you are a talented person, that's okay. If you have anything you don't understand, just ask, and the teacher will answer it patiently. But if the person is not gifted, the teacher will have no patience. If you ask him again and again, it will be fine. Everyone will chase after him and ask, and everyone will be annoyed to death. Yuang is awesome. The magician was in a very good mood and was full of praise for the net. This scene happens everywhere in the Evernight Empire. Not surprisingly, the launch of Smart Classroom once again caused a sensation. All the magicians were excited. I am also increasingly grateful to the Moon Goddess. First, there is the Moon Forum, which unconditionally popularizes magic knowledge, and then there is the Moon Chat, which allows magicians to communicate and chat easily. Next, there is the Smart Classroom, which allows all magicians, even without a teacher, to learn magic easily. Although there is widespread magic knowledge, magic itself is difficult. Some magics are difficult to learn by self-study without teaching. Now comes the teaching. For many magicians, it is simply a blessing from heaven. Haha, with the wisdom classroom, as long as I study hard, it will only be a matter of time before I surpass those in the Magic Academy. A civilian magician was excited there. This civilian magician had average talent and was unable to go to the magic academy. He could only become a disciple of an old magician and learn from him. After the death of the old magician, he had no place to study. Now, seeing the wisdom classroom coming, it is like a piece of cake for this civilian magician. Now, he feels that using the money from downstairs to buy a monthly ring is the most correct thing. In the kingdom of God, seeing how effective the wisdom classroom was, a smile appeared on the face of the goddess of wisdom. Then, she called on the Holy Spirits to continue making some video tutorials. First we popularized magic knowledge, and now we have gone too far and directly taught magic. If this continues, who will come to the academy to do it? At a time when a large number of magicians are excited about the wisdom classroom, the top management of the Magic Academy was not in a good mood. In the Yongye imperial capital, several high-level officials from the Magic Academy gathered in a room. These high-level officials themselves are also powerful magicians. Yuang has attracted more and more people's attention. The higher-ups of the Magic Academy have naturally noticed it a long time ago. However, these high-level officials themselves also have the hope of becoming gods, and no one will risk offending a great goddess to interfere. It is also difficult for them to interfere. If they insist on interfering, the only way is to forcibly prevent the students of the college from using the moon ring. But Yuang doesn't just face Magic Academy students. They also face all the magician groups. The magician group is huge and they cannot interfere with other magicians. Originally, it was just a moon forum, so it didn't worry them too much. But now, the emergence of smart classrooms makes them very worried. Magicians have all learned through smart classrooms, so who would pay high prices to enter a magic academy? It is said that the wisdom class is hosted by the goddess of wisdom. This is not easy to handle. What is the opinion of the Magician Association? A senior college official said. What can the Magicians Association do? Their stance is different from ours. On the contrary, they are happy to see this happen. It seems that the Moon Goddess and the Wisdom Goddess have joined forces. The Moon Network will definitely attract the attention of other great gods. Let's wait and see what happens. Another college senior said. Good. The top leaders of these colleges have no choice but to watch. Honey, how is the effect? A week after the smart classroom went online, Chi Fei came to the Moon Goddess in the Kingdom of God and asked, Your Excellency Fei Bai, the goddess has almost accumulated enough divine power to drive out the witch mark in one fell swoop. Ticini happily told the good news. So fast. Chi Fei was stunned. The Moon Goddess said, Bai, the faith of magicians is not only more than that of ordinary people, but also of higher quality. With the same amount of faith, the consumption of magicians' faith to condense the same level of divine power will be 10 times less than that of ordinary people. More than. I see. The magician is stronger, and the faith he provides is not only more in quantity, but also of higher quality. Quality. Seems like it's very important. This news is indeed good news. As long as the Moon Goddess exorcises the witch mark, it will be very simple to recover from her injuries. The witch's curse brought by the witch's mark is a constant stream, preventing her from recovering from her injuries. This is the reason why her injury has never been good. Immediately afterwards, Ticini reported some more specific situations to Chi Fei. For example, after the smart classroom went online, the income from faith brought by the monthly network has further increased. Just as Chi Fei thought, the wisdom classroom did not separate the belief in the Moon Goddess, but instead further increased the belief. Make the pool of faith bigger. In this way, the goddess of wisdom also has some income, and the faith income of the Moon Goddess has further increased. This increase does not include the newly added magicians. This is normal. The wisdom classroom makes the magicians more and more grateful, they become more and more pious when praying, and they naturally provide more and more faith. So, pulling the goddess of wisdom into the car is a true win-win situation. In this way, Chi Fei was also relieved. Let's work harder to cover the entire Eternal Night Empire with magicians as soon as possible. Chi Fei said. This is a phased goal of Yuang. Get rid of the Evernight Empire first. Then, go one step further and head towards the entire continent of gods. The Holy Spirits are all very motivated. The development of Yuang is still continuing. However, the next day, something new happened. Lois asked me for help and wanted me to send the dark elf tribe to support her country. Lois is the goddess of life. Moon goddess said. Elven kingdom. Chi Phoebe asked. The moon goddess nodded. Yes, the elf kingdom is in the Hilo forest to the north of the snowy mountains. A crack in the ground suddenly appeared there, and there are traces of demons in it. It may be invaded. The dark elf tribe believes in me. He is good at fighting underground, so Lois asked me for help. Invasion. Chi Phoebe became interested, and after asking in detail, he understood. The continent of the gods is wrapped and protected by the god realm, and it is not easy for outsiders to invade. If you want to invade, you have to penetrate the god realm first, which is too difficult. But Nuo Jiao Jiao, there is another way. That is, an invasion from the other side of the continent of gods. The continent of the gods is an extremely huge continent, and the protection on the other side is much weaker, but it is not easy to invade. Because the continent of gods is too big and too thick. The rock layer in the core area is extremely hard. The thickness of the gods' continent is extremely terrifying, and on the other side it is intertwined with the laws of the god realm. Even if there is a supernova explosion on the other side of the gods' continent, it will not destroy the gods' continent. But just because it is too big, evil creatures will always find some weak points. The invading evil creatures are mainly demons and devils from the abyss. Naturally, those demons cannot penetrate the continent of gods, but some powerful demons will build some transmission points to send demons to the surface. Then drill out from the cracks in the ground. Honey, what clothes do you need me to wear? Chi Phoebe asked. That seam in the ground appeared strangely. Lois sent the Holy Spirit down to take a look, and noticed space fluctuations down there. I suspect there are 10 divine crystal breaker you need down there. Moon goddess said. This was the reason why she told Chi Phoebe about this matter. Otherwise, she would just send the dark elf tribe to support the elf kingdom, and there was no need to tell it separately. Are there artifact fragments in the continent of the gods? After the artifact was shattered, it seemed that it was broken into countless parts, and one part actually went to the continent of the gods. Chi Phoebe pondered for a moment and said, Okay, I'll go take a look. At present, the best and fastest way to obtain space-time energy is to fragment the artifact. Since there may be fragments of the artifact, Chi Phoebe naturally wants to take a look. An endless forest was divided into two halves by a huge crack in the ground. Around the crack in the ground, a large number of fully armed elves, holding longbows and wands, were waiting. Your Majesty the envoy of God, I'm glad you can come. On a flat ground next to the ground seam, the elf queen wearing a crown said to Chi Phoebe. This is not the first time Chi Phoebe has seen elves. During Chiangwei's enthronement ceremony, Phoebe also met the elves. Next to the elf queen is the patriarch of the dark elf tribe. The elf kingdom occupies the entire Hilo forest, also called the Hilo kingdom. There are more than 1 million elves in the entire kingdom. This elven kingdom is the kingdom of the goddess of life. The goddess of life is also one of the 12 great goddesses in the divine world. The number of elves is not very large, but elves, like magicians, provide not only more faith, but also higher quality. Moreover, elves have a long lifespan and can basically live for more than 1,000 years. Because it is the kingdom of the goddess of life, the goddess of life can obtain complete faith from the kingdom. These more than 1 million elves provide a lot of faith, and the goddess of life's priesthood is also more dominant than the goddess of the moon. Therefore, the goddess of life is also a quite powerful goddess. Not all elves believe in the goddess of life. Dark elves, for example, believe in the goddess of the moon, because the power they control is related to the moon. The moon goddess relies on her own priesthood to gain faith from the dark elf tribe. There are also some elves, such as sea elves, who believe in the goddess of the sea again. And like the wind elves, they may also believe in the storm goddess. Most of the elves in the kingdom of Hilo are forest elves. Queen Lisa, how is the situation? Chi Phoebe asked. The elf queen said, the number of demons below is increasing. The people we sent down almost fell into their trap, but they 983 don't look like they are going to attack the ground. Chi Phoebe pondered for a moment and said, I'll go down and take a look first. His talent in time and space can't even trap the ghostly witch in her void cage. Naturally, a mere demon can't even think about getting him. In addition, as the heart of time and space continues to take shape and the talent tree reaches level 5, Chi Fibai's methods have further increased. He now also has an ability that he can use to hide. That is space sneaking. This ability allows Chi Fibai to sneak and hide in space for a period of time, which is perfect for observing the situation. Moon God, let me go with you. I have been underground and I also know a certain amount of space magic. An elf girl spoke. This is the goddess's envoy. The elf queen said. The envoy of the goddess of life. Knowing space magic. No wonder she can detect space fluctuations. In the continent of the gods, space magicians are extremely rare. The Evernight Empire is such a large empire and has many magicians, but the number of space magicians can be counted with 2 hands. If there is only one magician among thousands of people, there may not be even one space magician among thousands of magicians. Chi Fibai pondered for a moment and said, okay. The underground environment is complicated, so it's better to let her lead the way. Your Majesty, the envoy of God, let's go with you. The Dark Elf clan leader spoke. Chi Fibai shook his head, handed the moon ring to the leader of the Dark Elf clan, and said, wait a moment, I will go to explore the situation first. You guys wait for my notification. This is the moon ring, you learn how to operate it first. I will use the moon ring inform you. Seeing Chi Fibai say this, the Dark Elf clan leader had no choice but to give up. Chi Fibai spent a few more minutes teaching her how to operate the earrings. Your Excellency Fei BBCB by, the space fluctuations are felt here, but there are many demons here. A few hours later, in the dark underground gap, the envoy of the goddess of life whispered. Her name is Molly, a holy spirit of the goddess of life. Now, Fei Bai and her have gone deep underground. Molly does no space magic, and her strength is pretty good, but as the Holy Spirit descends, she can't display much strength. The trick she used most was that when she stood still, the demons couldn't find her. There are demons. As soon as she finished speaking, the devil came. She immediately stood still, distorting the space in front of her to a certain extent, so that the devil could no longer sense her breath. If we talk about the means of space magic, as a Holy Spirit, she must be very powerful. However, in terms of specificity, space magic is definitely not as good as Chi Fibai's time and space talent. Time and space are currently only spaces. Chi Fibai estimated that when the time and space talent tree is further upgraded, he might come into contact with something more powerful, that is time. Otherwise, because of what time and space. However, the level of time is too high. With the current level of the time and space talent tree, time has not even the slightest shadow. Chi Fibai stood still, but he had also disappeared from the devil's sight and perception. The demon crawled over from a short distance away. This demon looked like a monster, with a hunched body and one hand that had no palm but turned into a bone knife. Let's go. The two of them continued on their way. The spatial fluctuations are already very weak. But Chi Fibai could detect it. This fragment should be a bit big. Chi Fei thought in vain. Not only is it a bit large, the energy in this fragment is not too mixed, otherwise, there will be no spatial fluctuations. Like 2 fragments in the God realm, the space-time energy inside is mixed with other energy. Abnormally mixed, no spatial fluctuations are emitted at all. That kind of energy could not be absorbed by anyone else except Chi Fibai's time and space talent. I'm afraid even a very powerful space magician, or even a god of the space system, would find it difficult to use it. This has nothing to do with strength. Perhaps this fragment fell on the continent of the gods and was buried underground for who knows how long, so the energy inside was not mixed. Like 2 fragments in the god realm, one is on the ancient battlefield and the other is in the Chaos Star Sea. The environment is very complicated. Chi Fibai continued to move forward, and the further he went, the more demons there were. Finally, I couldn't walk at all. Molly, wait for me here, I'll go over and take a look. After Chi Fibai said something to Molly, he activated space stealth and headed towards the direction where the space fluctuations were coming from. Spatial sneaking is indeed very powerful. If you look at it from Chi Fibai's perspective, those demons are right in front of you, but they can't sense him at all. In this way, Chi Phoebe sneaked all the way and soon came to a huge underground cave. This place is almost occupied by demons. These demons are the kind of monster demons whose hands turn into bone knives. A large number of demons were using their bone knives to dig at a stone wall. As they moved, the stone wall was being chipped away. These guys' bone knives are so sharp. However, their strength is incomparable to the shadow demon spiders they encountered in the Chaos Star Sea. Those shadow demon spiders can survive and move in the space outside the god realm, which means they are vulnerable to the goddess of wisdom. If the person who went there was not the goddess of wisdom, but a weak god of the first level, those shadow demon spiders might have been able to deal with the other party without the ghost witch coming forward at all. These demons are too much. Inside the stone wall that these demons were chipping away with bone knives were probably fragments of artifacts. Chi Phoebe has already sensed it. What are they doing? At this time, Chi Phoebe made another discovery. In an area, a large number of monsters and demons were killing each other. After the death of these monsters and demons, their blood flowed into the ground, dyeing the ground red. Soon, all the monsters and demons in that area were dead. Immediately afterwards, other monsters and demons walked up and moved their bodies away. On the ground, an extremely evil-looking magic circle symbol appeared. This magic circle symbol was completely soaked in blood at this time. Evil ritual. Chi Phoebe thought of these words. This should be some kind of evil ritual, used to summon something. Really. Soon, his suspicion was confirmed. I saw the devil's blood on the symbol, boiling as if it had been boiled. Then, the demon blood began to glow red. No, it's that evil magic circle symbol that's glowing. Coming soon. Chi Phoebe was hidden in the space without any movement. What are these guys trying to summon? He wasn't too worried. The laws of heaven and earth in the gods' continent are here, and even the Dharma gods who have reached the first level dare not take action rashly. Even with this evil sacrificial ritual, summoning has great limitations. The thing summoned cannot be too strong. Soon, Chi Phoebe knew. In that magic circle, all the blood burned and became brighter and brighter. Immediately afterwards, a petite figure jumped out from inside. As soon as this petite figure appeared, the demons around him all trembled and crawled down. This is the ghost witch. Chi Phoebe was startled. Although he didn't get a clear look at the ghost witch last time, Chi Phoebe was very sure that this was the ghost witch. Now, I can see it more clearly. The ghost witch looks so evil. She is only 1.3-4 meters tall. She looks like a Lolita, but she is almost authentic childlike appearance. Such a loli is actually a witch. Really not cosplay. Wrong. Chi Phoebe quickly noticed the abnormality. This is not a ghost witch. Chi Phoebe came to a conclusion. When the ghost witch appeared, the evil aura on her body was extremely strong. The reason why she couldn't see clearly last time was because she was affected by the evil aura, which made her unable to see clearly. The evil with the evil breath mentioned here is serious evil. But this doesn't have such a strong evil aura. This should be her doppelganger. Chi Fei thought in vain. The ghost witch is equivalent to the great goddess. All these demons are dead and it is impossible to summon her. To summon the ghost witch, I'm afraid it would take an evil magic circle with hundreds of thousands or even millions of people to sacrifice. But it is impossible for the ghost witch's body to come to the continent of the gods. Her strength is suppressed here, and the price of arrival is also high. So, she sent a clone with the purpose of. It should be this artifact fragment. Really, she's looking for this thing too. In the extremely deep underground cave, Chi Phoebe was quietly lurking there. The ghost witch did not notice Chi Phoebe. After arriving, she flew to the stone wall and frowned as she looked at the densely packed monsters and demons lying on the stone wall, using bone knives to chisel at the stone wall. As she frowned, the temperature in the cave dropped a lot. The demons seemed to sense her displeasure, and one by one they quickly chipped away at the stone wall. Everyone get up. A tall demon waved his hand, and more monsters and demons rushed up the stone wall, squeezing the stone wall so hard that even a needle couldn't be inserted. After the number of monsters and demons increased, the efficiency became much faster. However, it will take a lot of time for them to carve out the artifact fragments. The ghost witch took out a dark devil fruit and ate it, then waited there. Seeing this, Chi Phoebe launched space stealth again. He wanted to find the transmission point where these demons came. Only by destroying this teleportation point can the problem here be completely solved. Otherwise, the demons can continue to come through the teleportation point, but I am afraid that these demons will attack the ground later. Such attacks are rare in the continent of the gods, but every few years, the demon will always find a weak point, and then it happens. Found it. Without spending too much effort, Chi Phoebe found the teleportation point in a smaller hole not far from the underground cave. It looked like a deep hole leading to the bottom of the continent of gods. The hole is not big, only big enough for one demon to get out at a time. It's like a mouse hole. The demons are still drilling out in a steady stream, and the ghost witch's clone cannot get out of such a hole. Chi Phoebe looked around again. There were indeed many demons around. There were demons lurking everywhere in the underground passages. The forest elves of the Hilo Kingdom are not good at underground combat. It is difficult for them to adapt to this dark environment. Dark elves are actually very good at this kind of battlefield. Chi Phoebe quietly sneaked to where Holy Spirit Molly was and revealed his figure. Your Excellency Phoebe, how are you doing? Molly asked in a low voice when she saw Chi Phoebe coming back. The witch has descended into clones. There are already tens of thousands of demons. I have notified the dark elves to come down. Molly, you go and respond. Chi Phoebe said. Witch clone. These words made Molly's expression change. Don't worry, leave her to me. You go to pick up the dark elves and wait for my notification to launch an attack. Chi Phoebe said. Good. Molly saw that Chi Phoebe's tone was calm and confident, so she agreed. Then, she turned back the way she came. Chi Phoebe launched space stealth and came to the cave again. There, under the personal supervision of the ghost witch, a large number of demons dug into the stone wall with all their strength. Finally, after more than 2 hours, the stone wall was completely peeled away. After the stone wall was dug open, the artifact fragments inside were revealed. Countless years have passed, and the fragments of the artifact have been buried here for who knows how long. This time, it should have been touched by these demons, which caused the crack in the ground in Shiluo Forest to appear. There is indeed a lot of space-time energy in this artifact fragment. Got you. The ghost witch stepped towards the artifact fragments, and soon came to the front of the artifact fragments. Chi Phoebe has mobilized enough time and space energy and is ready to take action. After the time and space talent tree reaches level 5, he has added many new abilities, and some abilities can be used in combat. In front of the artifact fragments, the ghost witch had already taken out a bag, and it seemed that she was preparing to put the artifact fragments in it. However, before she could pretend, suddenly, among the fragments of the artifact, a golden light point suddenly rushed towards the ghost witch, heading straight for the ghost witch's head. Just as it was about to rush into the head of the ghost witch blocked it with a movement of her right hand. I knew it wasn't that simple. Sure enough, there is still a ray of will in the fragment. Hee, so what if you are an ancient power? A mere ray of will can't do anything to this witch. The ghost witch giggled. Ancient will. Good guy, there is actually this thing in this artifact fragment. It seems that this fragment is well preserved. Sometimes that's not a good thing. There are still surprises hidden inside. This artifact fragment is extremely old, and the owner of the artifact is unknown. The ghost witch is worthy of being a witch, and she has long expected this situation. After all, she has often been the one to trick others in the past. If someone wants to trick her, it's not easy. You can go now. The ghost witch's left hand drew a bloody trail, and she seemed ready to destroy this ray of ancient will. But the golden light spot also exploded violently. It's now. The mantis stalks the cicada, but the oriole follows behind. Taking advantage of the fight between the ancient will and the ghost witch, Chi Fei launched the space shuttle with a fierce movement. The next second, Chi Phoebe suddenly appeared in front of the artifact fragments, grabbing the artifact fragments with both hands. It's you. The ghost witch recognized Chi Phoebe, and her expression changed drastically. The last time in the Chaos Star Sea, it was Chi Phoebe who led the goddess of wisdom to break through her void cage. She remembers this. Also remember Chi Phoebe. Chi Phoebe was about to take away the fragments of the artifact. Suddenly, another wave of will rushed out from inside and enveloped Chi Fibai instantly, making Chi Fibai unable to move. Hee hee, if you want to rob who, it's not that easy. The ghost witch laughed happily. Last time, Chi Fibai led the goddess of wisdom out of the void cage, which made the demon girl depressed. Now that she sees Chi Fibai being attacked by the will in the fragments of the artifact, she is not to mention how happy she is. But immediately, she realized something was wrong, because the ancient will she faced was much more ferocious than she had imagined. Around them, a large number of demons rushed over, but at this time, the artifact fragments emitted waves, and those demons were unable to get close. How dare you plot against me? The ghost witch became angry, swore curse words, and struck out with all her strength. In front of her, the ancient will was getting stronger and stronger, trying to rush into her clone and snatch her clone. Go to hell. The ghost witch revealed all her cards, and many demons were affected and retreated one after another. On the other side, several levels of divine magic were also activated on Chi Fibai's body. This was the magic that the moon goddess applied to Chi Fibai. He was fighting against that will. This ancient will actually had more than one. Fortunately, the other party seemed to value Yu Witch's body more and wanted to snatch it away. Chi Fibai was just trying to contain her. Chi Fibai can completely activate his time and space talent to leave here first, but in the current situation, leaving is useless. Now it is a spiritual confrontation. Although he left, the will is still there. On the other side, the ghost witch tried her best, but the will was getting stronger and stronger, and she could no longer withstand it. After all, this is just a clone of her. Hateful. The ghost witch was desperate. She was about to lose this clone. The power carried by the clone had already been exhausted. Although the ancient will also consumes a lot of energy, the opponent still has the advantage. The thought of her clone being possessed by this unknown ancient will made her extremely sick. The key is that she is a witch. She has always been the only one who plotted against others. This time, she was actually plotted against by the ancient will. It was about to be completely irresistible, and then, suddenly, the ancient will noticed something and suddenly changed the direction of its main attack. Mainly attack Chi Fibai. How come? The ghost witch was puzzled. Could it be that in the eyes of the ancient will, Chi Fibai was more precious than the body of her witch clone? I go. The actions of the ancient will made Chi Fibai puzzled as to how this ancient will could attack him. But Chi Fibai still has a way. He can return to the kingdom of the moon goddess or the goddess of wisdom now. They can easily deal with this ancient will. The ghost witch is a clone after all. But once he does that, the fragment of the artifact will no longer belong to him. Luna Chakra. Chi Fibai thought of the moon god wheel. Although the use of the moon god wheel in the continent of the gods was risky, easy to break, and its power would be suppressed, he didn't care so much and sacrificed the moon god wheel directly. As soon as the sacrifice came out, the rocks in the cave began to break. The ghost witch's face changed drastically. How did you bring the artifact to the continent of the gods? Huh. Chi Fibai suddenly discovered that there was something in the moon god wheel. Those are two beads as black as ink. This is the soul bead. It can increase your mental power. Use it quickly. The moon goddess revelation arrived, and she was paying attention to Subai throughout the process. The moon god wheel has always been here with Chi Fibai. Where did the soul beads come from? Chi Fibai immediately thought of something. Last time, after he used the moon god wheel to kill millions of ghosts, the moon god wheel seemed to have absorbed a lot of the soul energy of the ghosts. Maybe these two soul beads were formed in this way. God help me. Taking advantage of the moon goddess' magical power, Chi Fibai swallowed a soul bead without saying a word. Boom. As soon as he swallowed it, his head seemed to explode. His mental power suddenly increased, and because it increased so quickly, his whole body felt light and airy. Good guy. This is so powerful. His soul is about to be burst. This soul bead was so powerful that he was really about to burst. Got to let it out. Just as the ancient will broke through the last barrier, Chi Fibai vented this energy without saying a word. The next second, then he saw that the ancient will that had been consumed by the ghost witch suddenly exploded under the impact of this energy. Killed millions of ghosts, and there is still a soul pearl brought by a ghost king, which is really powerful. This ancient will that had been fighting with the ghost witch for a long time was finally defeated like this. However, Chi Phoebe was also extremely tired. The whole person was almost exhausted. Then, Chi Phoebe felt that he had been bitten and it hurt so much. He looked down and saw that the ghost witch was holding his legs and biting the flesh of his waist. Because she was too short, she could only bite Chi Phoebe's waist. The ghost witch bites. The ghost witch looked at Chi Phoebe fiercely, as if she wanted to bite Chi Phoebe to death. She has very little strength left, and this is probably her last resort. Around them, after the ancient will was resolved, the demons rushed up. Swish swish. But at this time, the sound of sharp arrows piercing the sky sounded. The dark elves are coming. Not only the dark elves, but also a large number of forest elves came. These forest elves are not good at underground fighting, but under the leadership of the dark elves, they can also demonstrated great combat effectiveness. When the demons faced the dark elves, they were instantly at a disadvantage. Chi Phoebe's whole body collapsed and he grabbed the ghost girl's hair with both hands. The ghost witch didn't let go and kept biting Chi Phoebe. Chi Phoebe was also angry and scratched at the ghost witch. Accidentally, I caught it in the wrong place. Bad guy. The ghost witch was so angry that she let go of Chi Phoebe, stepped back, and retreated to the evil magic circle. The magic circle lit up, and the next second, she disappeared there. She ran away. There is nothing we can do if we don't run, the demons can no longer be defeated. She was also exhausted and started biting people. Chi Phoebe accidentally caught the evil one. Although she was a clone, her clone was very special and she was usually with her main body. I'm furious. In the dark country, the depressed voice of the ghost witch rang out. She was so angry that not only were the fragments of the artifact gone, Phoebe also took advantage of her. Your Excellency Phoebe, be careful. At this time, a group of demons pounced on Chi Phoebe. Although Chi Phoebe was weak all over, his time and space talent could still be used. The next second, he saw that the group of demons broke into two halves in the air. This is the attack ability, Space Slash, that Chi Phoebe gained after the time and space talent tree reached level 5. Chi Phoebe continuously launched space slashes, killing groups of demons. Dark elves and a large number of other elves have also entered this cave. The light emitted by magic illuminated the entire cave. The demons couldn't stand it any longer and were quickly eliminated. Finally, the battle is over. All the demons were killed. The 6-eye magic circle is the evil magic circle that the ghost witch loves to use. I didn't expect that this time it would be the ghost witch. Molly came to the front of the evil magic circle, a little scared. This magic circle has been destroyed. It should only be used once, or twice. After the ghost witch's clone left, it was destroyed. As the holy spirit of the goddess of life, Molly recognized this magic circle. Thanks to Lord Phoebe for getting rid of the witch's clone, otherwise this battle would not have been easy to fight. Molly said gratefully. She arrived relatively late and only saw the ghost witch biting Chi Phoebe and escaping. At that time, she didn't recognize the ghost witch yet. But through this 6-eyed magic circle, she learned the identity of the ghost witch. The ghost witch is very difficult to deal with. Even if it is a clone, it is not easy to deal with. But he was beaten away by Chi Phoebe. It doesn't matter, I'm here just for this fragment. Chi Phoebe looked at the artifact fragments. Do you need my help? Molly asked. Chi Phoebe shook his head and said, no, just go and destroy the teleportation point. Good. Molly took the elves to destroy the teleportation point. Chi Phoebe came to the artifact fragment. The ancient will in the artifact fragment had been completely wiped out. Although the space-time energy in this artifact fragment was pure, Chi Phoebe did not absorb it directly. Because it may contain strong aggression. Take it away, it shouldn't be a problem. Chi Fei thought in vain. So, he activated his time and space talent and carefully put it into his personal space. Seeing that the artifact fragments were successfully loaded, Chi Phoebe breathed a sigh of relief. In this way, it will be okay to take this fragment of the artifact back and let my wife handle it. This time, it was a smooth sailing. This can also be a wake-up call for Chi Fei. These ancient things may contain some ancient remnants. You need to be careful if you encounter it in the future. In addition, Chi Fibai gained a lot from this trip. His mental power increased sharply. Although he finally vented part of the soul power of the soul beads and exploded the ancient wool, he made progress. Still big. He also has a soul bead. I didn't expect that after the moon god wheel killed the ghosts, it could absorb their soul energy and turn it into soul beads. Chi Fibai seemed to have seen a way to strengthen his soul. In the world of gods, no ghost commits suicide. But on the battlefield of all races on Earth, the number of ghosts is not ordinary. When there is a war between all races, he can go back and harvest the ghost race to strengthen himself. Superior. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.